Hey, have you guys noticed that now Hulu is doing a brand new episode of Futurama? And it's coming out in July 24th. Well, since I did review Futurama about a month ago, so I don't know if it's going to be any good or not. I mean, I've seen the new Animaniacs series, and sadly, it wasn't as good as the original. But anyway, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Multi-Voice Entertainment. I'm the Multi-Voice Reviewer. I have many voices, but one opinion. And today, let's talk about something science fiction, as usual. Now, if I tell you about a British sci-fi show, what pops in your head? Now, besides Doctor Who, I'm talking about a British comedy sci-fi series. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm talking about Red Dwarf. Yeah, that's it. Since I've seen the whole series of Red Dwarf, I figured, what the hell? Maybe I should do the review of Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf was unlike any British sci-fi series you have ever seen. Now, throughout the whole show, it starts with a man who goes by the name of David Lister, played by Craig Charles. Now, how the story goes, Craig Charlie was one of the repairmen who just doesn't give a rat's ass about life. I mean, he's just more laid back, kind of lazy, doesn't take things too seriously. Heck, even his friend told him, "Is that a cigarette you're smoking?" "No, it's a chicken." And it turns out that he had a cat on board. And due to health regulations on the ship, he weren't supposed to bring living animals into the ship. And they want him to bring the cat over here so they can get rid of it. Which he cannot do. He doesn't want them to kill the cat. So he kept the cat well hidden. And as for punishment for refusing to take the cat over to the brig, they decided to put him into cryostasis. And during those cryostasis, he woke up. He just been revived out of the cryostasis for over a year. And all he sees is white dust everywhere. And the ship's computer, known as Holly, played by Norman Lovett, he kept asking Holly, who is all this white stuff? And he says, "That's the lieutenant." Turns out all these dusts are all dead people. He always kept telling him, "What about Rimmer?" "He's dead, Dave. Everybody's dead, Dave." He just continues on asking who is dead, and he says, "Everybody's dead, Dave. Everybody's dead, Dave." And then all of a sudden, Lister said, "So you're trying to tell me everyone's dead?" And from out of nowhere, out comes his so-called friend, but he always keeps calling him a schmeghead because he's an idiot, named Arnold Rimmer, played by Chris Berry. Now, Arnold Rimmer, he was a so-called friend to Lister, but he is really annoying and arrogant. And Lister always gets on Rimmer's nerve. And of course, he is dead. They just absorbed his memory and everything and just made him a hologram. That's why he has this H on his forehead. It represents him as a hologram. And of course, now Lister isn't the only living person who is in the ship. Turns out comes this Chuck Berry-looking character named Cat, who has evolved from a cat. He's a human being who evolved from a cat, and he has vampire fangs, but cats always have teeth like that. So, and he always goes like this, "Yeah!" Wow! Don't look, girl, I drive you crazy. I'm cool, I'm hip, Cat is here to rock the house. And of course, Cat is played by David John-Jules, which he is a very funny and talented actor. Believe it or not, did you know that he did the voice of Gex on Gex 2 in the UK edition? And he's a lot funnier than the American actor who played Gex. Food for thought. No, not Gex 2. He was on Gex 3. That was it. He did the voice of Gex on Gex 3, the UK version of the video game. And then throughout the whole first season, they're trying to figure out a way to go back home while they're trying to organize this whole problem, and they always have evil aliens invaders, and even a few screw loose and a few toss and turns. And then to the second season, that's when they introduce Crichton. Now, in the second season, they introduced Crichton, played by David Ross, but now, throughout the third season, Crichton became a stayed-on character who is played by Robert E. Willen. Robert Lee Williams. That's it. Lorian. Willen. Now, one thing about Crichton, he's pretty much the nervous type, but he is programmed to serve. I mean, the first time they met Crichton, he was on an abandoned ship, which they say that it was hosted by three female astronauts that he served. But it turns out all three of those women are all dead. And he didn't know it, because him being an android, he can't tell who is living or dead. He just continues on serving for them. Most odd. But of course now they let Crichton become a member in the ship, and every time he has a problem trying to lie. Like Lister holds up a banana, and he says, "Come on, Crichton, you can do this. This here is an orange. It's a banana. I can't help it. No. Come on, Crichton, you can do this. This is a banana. This is an orange. It's a Czechoslovakian off-duty traffic warden." But of course, he always keeps telling Crichton to call Rimmer a smeghead. You know, that's one thing about the show. They created a new language called Schmeg. So, every time when some disaster happened, or somebody gives him an answer he didn't want to hear, Lister always yells out, "Schmeg!" And even always keeps calling Rimmer a schmeghead. But of course, when Crichton tries to call Rimmer a schmeghead, he said, "Rimmer, do you know what I think of you? You're a schmeg. Schmeg." I mean, he just can't say it. He just can't call him a smeghead. Ah, jeez. And then in season 3, where Norman Lovett, who plays Holly, left, Holly gets replaced by a woman played by Hetty Hurridge. And they go on their wacky adventures throughout their entire journey until the 8th season. Oh, hang on. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the 6th season. The 6th season where they lost their ship, the Red Dwarf, so now they're cruising around with their little green space pod known as Greenbug. Space Bug, actually, because it looks like an insect. And they go through their entire journey trying to find Red Dwarf. And then during around the 7th season, that's when Rimmer starts meeting his alternate version of himself, who is handsome, dashing, and heroic, who calls himself Ace Rimmer, who always, every time when he leaves, he always says, "Smoke me a kipper, I'll be back for breakfast." You know, that's one thing I do miss, because every time I go to a store, not many stores sells kippers. I mean, they used to sell kippers over the Dollar Tree, but now they stopped selling them. So every breakfast, I am dying for a kipper. Because I love kippers. They're my favorite breakfast food. My favorite fish. In case for those of you who don't know what kippers are, they're herring. Smoked herring. They're really good. They taste like sausages to me. But anyway, in the mid of the season of the 7th season, Arnold Rimmer decided to leave their pod and continue on the legacy as Ace Rimmer. And that's when they start introducing... Turns out that the Lister, he was still in love with this girl who goes by the name of Chris Kochanski. And all of a sudden, he found a parallel universe where Lister died and became a hologram, but Kochanski was in stasis. And Chris Kochanski is played by Chloe Annette. Although there's one problem I do have. I mean, I'm not against the actress who plays Kochanski. I mean, it's just the character and all. I mean, Chloe didn't play Kochanski in the first season. In the first season, it was Claire Glorin. And I kind of like her better than this Kochanski. And I just didn't really care the rest of the seasons with Kochanski in it because Kochanski, she kind of acts all careless. I mean, she doesn't really give a rat's ass that Lister is in love with her. And he still holds the torch for her. And of course, I really didn't like the way Crichton acts because, I mean, I can tell that robot's acting completely asexual. Like, he doesn't understand why Lister likes to keep her around. It's because he loves that woman, and he would love sleeping with her. And Crichton thinks this is all terrible. It's horrible. I mean, talk about being a blocker. Now, I can't say that other word, so I just call him a blocker. Until in the 8th season, they finally got better when they found these these neuromites, who could pretty much repair things. And of course, Lister lost his arm because of some virus. So they find the little mites and they repaired his arm, but he made his body all big and bulky. But they fixed his body to average. And then they used the little knights, the little tiny micro-knights, to repair something else. They repaired the Red Dwarf itself, their ship. And they finally did it. And of course, when they finally landed back into the to the garage of the ship, here's a little something those little micronauts did. They revived everybody on Red Dwarf. Just everybody. So now everybody's alive and well. And no memory about the huge disaster where caused all their death. And then throughout the whole series, it turns out that they're in trial now. According to the Red Dwarf law, they broke all the rules and everything. So now they're going through their Red Dwarf prison. And they're trying to find a way to free themselves and everything. And that's when the show ended in season 8. Until season 9 came back. Where they did a 3-parter episode called Back to Earth. Where this time they're not in the Red Dwarf anymore. They're back. I mean, everybody is now gone, including Kochanski. So Lister, Rimmer, Crichton, and Kat found a way to go to Earth. So they finally went to Earth, and much to their surprise, they figured out they're in another part of Earth, an alternate world where it's more like our world, because they discover that they are characters in a TV show. So now Lister, Rimmer, Cat, and Crichton. Oh yeah, and they even brought back Norman as Holly. And they went all the way to meet the creator, but the creator starts acting like the scientist from Blade Runner. And even they were referencing Blade Runner completely. I mean, the whole running through the glass while Harrison Ford is killing the replicant. And then after that, they continued on with the series from 10 all the way to 12. And they just gone through their wacky adventures once again. And then, during Series 12, they have decided to end it with a final TV movie to end it all. And it was the TV movie is called Red Dwarf, The Promised Land, where it turns out that Cat is not the only being who is evolved from a cat. Turns out there's a whole group of litter of cat people, except there's a certain disagreement. One group goes by the belief about Lister and, of course, Cat himself, while the other one goes for another belief. So he's supposed to help them find their land that they're looking for, where their family are at, and deal against this one evil cat person who is a complete ass. And I always thought it was kind of funny seeing them with claws like Wolverine. I mean, they have like little Wolverine-like claws. And that was the end of Red Dwarf. And I guess that's pretty much the final story. Although I have heard that there are some audio stories of, some audio drama, radio drama of Red Dwarf somewhere. And of course, there's a lot of novels of Red Dwarf. I mean, they kept their legacy going. A little known fact: did you know that Patrick Stewart, who plays Captain Picard in Star Trek Next Generation, first time when he saw Red Dwarf, he thought that the BBC is making a parody of Star Trek, ripping them off. But as he was about ready to make a call, but he started noticing about the whole deal with Lister and everything, and that's when he starts noticing it was a comedy. So he just hung up the phone and watched the rest of the show and laughed. I have to say, it was a pretty funny show. And believe it or not, here in America, we were trying to make our own version of the Red Dwarf, believe it or not. Yeah, that's right. They made an on-aired pilot of the American version of Red Dwarf twice. I mean, here's the cast from the first pilot and the cast from the second pilot, where Holly was played by that lovely British actress, Jan Lives. And of course, it was kind of surprising. I mean, I kind of like the idea, though. One thing I do like on the American version, where instead of Cat being a guy, it would be a lot funnier if Cat was a woman. And I was surprised on the on-air American version pilot, the female version of Cat was played by the same actress who played Dax on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It's just too bad that the American version of Red Dwarf just didn't catch on, and it started back in 1992. I guess not many people are interested in the American version of Red Dwarf. What a shame. Well, that is my review of Red Dwarf for today. So if you like this review of Red Dwarf, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe. Oh, and guess what? My script of Flash Gordon meets Buck Rogers again. The script is done, and I am waiting for some of my friends with their lines. I only got a few right now, but I'm still waiting for more. So stay tuned for that. And for those of you who don't like my review of Red Dwarf or anything I mention, well, you're just a total schmeghead. I'm the multi-voice reviewer. I remember so I can jog your memory.